So, the last episode, we start with Mark imagining. We start with Mark imagining what Viltrum. Imagine. We start with Mark imagining what the Viltrumite could do to Earth. The animation and the lighting are amazing in this scene. To be honest, around this episode specifically, the lighting is way better. They put shadows and great lighting to the vid. They put shadows and great lighting to the episode. Eventually, eventually, Mark and Nolan and Tech Jacket gets to gets to Earth. We see a small scene of Mark. We see a small scene of Mark pulling up to see Debbie, and we see the first scene of the PTSD. We see the first scene of Mark PTSD after the war. And again, really love. And again, really love this. And again, really love this about the episode. If you really think about it, just a few years ago, Mark was just a kid. So him changing that much over 4 seasons is really appreciated. Is really good character development. But then we get a scene I'm a little bit more mixed about. Well, we get to see again Debbie and we finally we finally get to see Debbie and Nolan again. Well, the scene really started really strong. Just Debbie talking to Nolan and reminding him just how much of a piece of shit he is. But then Nolan gets weirdly aggressive, like really aggressive. He stops her from like walking away and say that he needs to give her a chance. But no, Nolan is a space Nazi. He does. Debbie doesn't owe him anything, but for some reason, this is like the scene is made. But for some reason, the scene is made out to make Debbie like considering this. If you really and this man has killed thousands of people in front of her and called her a pet. There is no logical reason why she should forgive him. And you know what happened? What we just find out? Debbie broke up with Paul. Holy shit. That was terrible. They don't even give him we don't even get to know like a valid solid reason why Paul and Debbie broke up. Paul was basically perfect to Debbie. The only logical reason why Debbie would break up with the only logical reason why Debbie would break up with Paul is because he doesn't have that super dick. Okay, let's be real. And even though that sounds funny, let's be real. Anyone who has been physically intimate with it, anyone who has been physically intimate with that one ex that used to be really good in bed will come back crawling to that one ex. And I hope they do and I do hope they talk about this and like how weird this is. Paul is perfect for Debbie, but for some reason they just broke up. There is no like valid reason why they broke up. Anyways, eventually Mark talks to eventually Mark talks to Anyways, eventually Mark talks to Eve and we do see like we do get to see like an amazing scene between them. Eve has obviously gained weight, but this is very realistic coming from her. She was stressed and thought that she was never gonna see Mark, so I'm fine with this. But then we get another uncomfortable scene. Eve has gotten an abortion. Oh shit. Like always, I'm pretty sure the internet is pretty mixed on this opinion. And well, I'm not gonna talk about my opinion specifically, but I am gonna talk about how the scene is very mature. I did really wanted to see the true opinion of Mark. It didn't felt like he was giving his opinion, but him being so devastated that he wasn't here for Eve was very realistic. And Eve trying to say that it's okay when Mark clearly knows this isn't okay, and if is really mature. And to be honest, I was just expecting like a little bit more debate between Eve and Mark when it comes to abortion, but I'm pretty sure we know. I'm pretty. But hey, again, pretty solid scene. Now we get to my favorite scene. Mark is just Mark is just around the sky, and we do get to see like an amazing scene of Mark panicking that Thrag is actually in his face. And for anyone who has PTSD, I'm sure this is very scary when you're a victim. When you keep imagining that one person that traumatized you in your face, and then the day finally comes when they do actually come, and you're so confused of if this is reality or a fake illusion again. Mark is panicking, trying to fight him, again getting embarrassed, losing all his aura. But that's not the point of the scene. Trag really showed me his true potential in this episode specifically. Not in the episode in episode 7. Yes, that was very entertaining, but we actually get to see Trag thinking like a normal person. He's still a terrible person, but he shows that like he actually does want peace for now. So basically the Vertramites are here to repopulate, and they say they're not gonna hurt anybody and they're just gonna chill out. I just love how I just love how Thrag is shown and his character, how he is. He's basically calm as hell, and even though he could have just killed Mark right there, because he's a Veltramite and sees him as family, he's not gonna do that. He is still trying to find peace between his people. That is amazing character development for Thrag. And even though I still think it's stupid that Mark didn't die in episode 7, this kind of redeems it, because now we get to see why Thrag didn't do it. There is no doubt in my mind that Thrag truly cares about his race and really wants the best for it. Even though this is like a terrible, even though the way he's doing it, it's pretty shitty. I can't. I do have to appreciate his character development. This is by far the most detailed antagonist so far. Also, Also, I know this is off subject, but it is hilarious to see Krieg being one of the most serious Ultramite, but the second he gets on Earth, you can already tell he's gonna become another type of person. Bro has found cigarettes, motorcycle, and women, and bro is already switching up. anyways, but yeah, anyways, the season ends with Mark and the season ends with Mark and Thrag making the deal. To be honest, this episode was very simple, but simply well made. Except simply well made. I love the conversation between Thrag and Mark and how much Mark is traumatized by the war. Now let me break let me break it down. Now let me break it down when it comes to small things. Oliver. Well, I'm starting to see a few flaws with Oliver. Oliver is supposed to be like Oliver used to be really well made in Oliver used to be really Oliver used to have like a really good potential in season 3, and him losing from time to time was completely okay, but now it's getting kind of ridiculous. I still don't like his performance when it comes to season 4. He was just being straight up stupid, and bro hasn't won once. Bro hasn't won a real fight once. Let's be real. I'm I'm still hoping for a better character. I'm still hoping for a better character development, but for now, others on Fraud Watch. Mark is amazing in this season. Even though it's small changes, I love just how much he has changed compared to season 1. If you compare Mark's dem- if you compare Mark's demeanor, voice acting compared to season 1, it's a complete different person. You can see the edge and just how tired he is mentally. Debbie for me was at his peak. Debbie was at his peak, especially in the beginning of the episode. But I am starting to see a few flaws. Her just basically, she hasn't, her acting up really weird and just randomly breaking up with Paul. Don't get me wrong, I don't give a shit about Paul, but her just randomly like packing up her bags to see Oliver with 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 her ex with her ex with her ex husband that killed thousands of people. I understand it. I understand how Mark can maybe forgive his dad because it's his fucking dad, but Debbie, it's a little bit weird. Yeah.